He promised to fight for her, but one phone call exposed a web of lies. Will she ever trust again after the wedding crashed and burned? Picture this. You're a guy who spent decades building a life. Calloused hands from hard work, a few gray hairs from the grind, and a woman you'd sworn to stand by through hell itself. Then, in one gut punch moment, you find out the guy she's about to marry is a puppet on someone else's strings. That's where I landed, staring down the barrel of my daughter Sarah's life unraveling, all because her fiancé, Mark, couldn't grow a backbone. I'm not her, but I'm damn close to this mess. Close enough to smell the betrayal wafting off it like cheap whiskey on a barroom floor. This isn't just her story. It's a warning for any man who's ever trusted too much, fought too little, or let family ties choke out what's right. Buckle up, because this one's a slow bleed, and it starts with a phone call that ripped the lid off everything. It was yesterday, March 7, 2025, when Sarah finally broke her silence. She'd walked out on Mark a week back, leaving him stewing in the dark, and I'd been watching from the sidelines, her old man's friend, the guy who's seen her scrape through life's muck since she was a kid. She's 32 now, tough as nails but soft where it counts, and I'd always figured Mark was solid. 6 feet of quiet muscle, a mechanic who'd rebuilt his dad's old Chevy with his bare hands. Seemed like the kind of guy who'd have her back. Wrong. When she called him, voice sharp as a blade, I could hear the quake in it through the walls of her mom's place, where she's been crashing. I was nursing a coffee, eavesdropping like some nosy uncle, because that's what you do when the kid you've half-raised is about to detonate her future. Turns out, Mark had been playing both sides of a dirty game. His dad, Tom, a barrel-chested ex-cop with a voice like gravel, had leaned on him hard, feeding him some sob story about Sarah's estranged father, Richard. You know the type, the deadbeat who bails when the diapers hit the fan, then slinks back years later with crocodile tears and a checkbook. Richard's been out of Sarah's life since she was 10, leaving her mom, Ellen, to scrape by on a nurse's salary. Now, he's got a new wife, Linda, and a sudden itch to play daddy again. Tom bought the act, or at least sold it to Mark, convincing him to bridge the gap. He just wants to be in her life, Tom had said, probably over a beer at the VFW hall where he holds court. Mark, the loyal son, bit the hook. Sarah's no fool, though. She'd been dodging Mark's family events for months, Thanksgiving with the in-laws, Christmas at Tom's lake house, because Richard kept showing up like a bad penny. The breaking point was Tom's wife's birthday bash, a backyard affair with ribs on the grill and Springsteen blaring from a Bluetooth speaker. Sarah walked in, saw Richard and Linda schmoozing by the cooler, and bolted. I don't blame her. I've met Richard, slimy as a used car salesman, all fake smiles and cheap cologne. Mark, though, took the heat from his folks. She's ruining our family time, they griped, and he started to bend. He admitted it on that call. He was tired of her drama, tired of the pressure, tired of being the guy caught in the middle. So he caved. Here's where it gets ugly. Mark dropped a bomb. Richard had paid for some of the wedding vendors. The caterer with the fancy sliders? The DJ spinning Sinatra for the old-timers? Daddy's dime. Mark swore he didn't know until after the checks cleared. Tom had told him it was a gift from him and his wife, a little cushion for the big day. Meanwhile, Richard spun it to Mark as his contribution, a way to weasel back into Sarah's good graces. Mark even fessed up that Richard had begged him to talk her into a truce. Just get her to hear me out, he'd said, probably over a handshake at some greasy diner. Mark, the idiot, tried. And Sarah. She felt the knife twist. I trusted you, she told him, her voice cracking like a dry branch. How am I supposed to marry a guy who sells me out to make everyone else happy? I could hear Mark crumbling on the other end. Sobs, apologies, the works. He swore he'd been blindsided, that his family and Richard had played him like a fiddle. I'll fix it, he begged. Give me a chance. She didn't hang up right away, and that's where I saw the old Sarah, the one who'd forgive a stray dog for biting her if it looked sorry enough. Against my better judgment, and I've got 40 years of scars telling me to cut and run, she agreed to test him. You stand up to them, she said. No more Richard. No more games. Prove it. Mark jumped at it like a drowning man grabbing a rope. He promised to confront his family, Tom, his mom, the whole clan, and cut Richard out cold. Sarah's staying at Ellen's for now, needing air she won't get if she goes back to their cramped apartment above the garage. Next week, they're supposed to call the vendors, see what's what. Mark's pushing for a delay, not a cancellation. clinging to the idea of that white dress and a dance floor packed with his buddies. Sarah's not sold. Breaking up still on the table, she told me later, stirring a pot of chili Ellen had simmering. Words are cheap. I need to see him man up. Richard's been a ghost since she blocked his number, but I know his type. He'll resurface. He's done it before, tracking her down through mutual friends or guilt-tripping Ellen into passing messages. Mark's family's another wild card. I've known Tom since we hauled lumber together in the 90s. Big heart, bigger ego. He's always seen Sarah as the outsider, the girl who didn't fit his vision of a tight-knit crew. His wife's worse, passive-aggressive jabs over potato salad about how Sarah doesn't try hard enough. Mark's caught in their orbit, and I wonder if he's got the guts to break free. Sarah's not asking him to ditch them, just to draw a line. I'm done with their crap, she said, cracking a beer and handing me one. If we make it, and kids come along, no way I'm letting Tom and his crew near them. Not after this. She's got a point. I've seen too many guys, good men, lose their spine under family pressure, dragging their wives and kids into the mess. Sarah's fighting to avoid that, and I respect the hell out of her for it. For now, it's a waiting game. Mark's got his shot to prove he's not just Tom's echo or Richard's errand boy. Sarah's got her eyes wide open, and I'm here, sipping coffee and watching the clock tick down. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Trust's a fragile thing, and once it's cracked, you don't just glue it back together. Mark's got to build something new, or he's out. And me? I'm rooting for her, because every man over 40 knows. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't the ones you fight with fists, they're the ones where you decide who's worth keeping in your corner. You ever watch a man you thought was solid turn to sand right in front of you? That's what I saw when Mark's mask didn't just slip, it shattered. A week after Sarah gave him his shot to prove he wasn't a pawn in someone else's game, the whole damn house of cards came down. I've been around long enough, pushing 50, with a busted knee from a roofing job gone south, to know when a guy's spine's made of steel or straw. Mark's was straw, and it took 7 days for Sarah to see it, cancel the wedding, and torch what was left of their future. This isn't some soap opera sob story, it's a slow-motion car wreck, and I had a front row seat at Ellen's kitchen table, sipping bourbon while Sarah laid out the wreckage. For any man who's ever bet on the wrong horse or watched a buddy fold under pressure, this one's for you. Because sometimes the hardest truth is the one you don't want to hear. It started with hope, fragile as a rusted bolt. Sarah had laid down the law. Mark had to stand up to his folks. Tom, the ex-cop with a handshake like a vice, and his wife, who'd knit you a sweater while stabbing you with the needles. He'd promised to go low contact, draw a line in the dirt. No more Richard, no more Linda, no more playing peacemaker at her expense. They'd agreed to an ultimatum. Tell the family that if Richard or Linda showed up to any barbecue, reunion, or goddamn bingo night, Sarah and Mark were out. No forced chats. No, let's all get along, bullshit. Mark swore he'd do it, and Sarah, against every instinct I've honed over decades of watching deals go sour, believed him. He's got one chance, she told me, cracking her knuckles like she used to before a high school softball game. One. He met with them, Tom, his mom, the whole clan, down at the VFW hall, probably over lukewarm Bud Lights and a jukebox spitting out Skinner. I wasn't there, but I could picture it. Tom leaning back in a folding chair, arms crossed, that cop stare boring into Mark while his mom tooted about family unity. Mark came back late, boots scuffing Ellen's porch steps, and I knew something was off before he even opened his mouth. Sarah was waiting, arms folded, her mom's old radio humming Merle Haggard in the background. "How'd it go?" she asked, voice steady but eyes like a hawk's. Mark didn't look at her, just kicked at the linoleum and muttered something about needing a beer. That's when the crack started to widen. He'd flipped. Not a full 180, but close enough. "They only mean well," he said, popping the cap off a bottle with a wrench from his pocket. "They don't get why you're so hard on your dad." Sarah's jaw tightened. I saw it from the corner of my eye, pouring a finger of Jim Beam into my mug. Mark kept going, like a man digging his own grave with a teaspoon. He couldn't go low contact, he said, loved his family too much, couldn't tell them who to be friends with. "It won't be an issue," he insisted, voice rising like he was trying to convince himself. "Dad'll talk to Richard, Get him to chill out around you. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. I nearly choked on my drink. This was the guy who'd sworn to cut the cord, now spinning excuses like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Sarah didn't yell. Not at first. She just stared, letting him ramble until he ran out of steam. Then she hit him with it. So that's it? You're choosing them over me. Mark flinched, beer sloshing onto his jeans. It's not like that, he said, but it was. Any man who's been in the trenches knows it. He'd gone in with a plan and come out reprogrammed, Tom's words dripping from his mouth. Sarah saw it too, and that's when the pieces clicked. She told me later it was the thought of kids that did it. The image of Mark hauling their future son or daughter to Tom's place, Richard and Linda lurking by the grill, her powerless to stop it. If he can't stand up now, she said, he'll never stand up then. She was right. I've seen guys like Mark, good intentions, weak resolve, fold when the stakes get real. Kids change the game, and Sarah wasn't betting her life on a quitter. She canceled the wedding the next day. Called the vendors herself, caterer, DJ, the florist with those overpriced roses, and took the hit. Partial refunds, some cash lost to deposits, but she didn't flinch. Mark begged her not to, voice cracking over the phone like a teenager dumped before prom. We can fix this, he pleaded, but Sarah was done. There's no way I'm marrying you after that, she told him, and I heard the steel in her voice. Same steel I saw when she rebuilt her mom's porch after a storm, hammer in hand, no complaints. She'd given him a lifeline, and he'd used it to hang himself. The breakup was brutal. Mark didn't go quiet. He went full meltdown. Showed up at Ellen's with red eyes and a sob story, banging on the door until I told him to beat it or I'd call the cops myself. I'll fix it, he kept saying, but Sarah wasn't buying. You made your choice, she said through the screen, arms crossed. You're spineless. Harsh but true. His family piled on. Tom called her ungrateful. His mom left voicemails about working it out, but Sarah held the line. Me? I stayed out of it, just poured another drink and watched her grow taller with every cut tie. Richard's mess didn't help. He'd been quiet since she blocked him, but word got back, through Ellen's gossip chain, that he'd tried apologizing at some diner run-in. Weak sauce. Sarah's eyeing a restraining order now, after he cornered her at a restaurant last month, got loud, got grabby, got escorted out. A buddy of mine's helping her look into it. He's ex-army, knows the legal ropes. Meanwhile, her sister Emily's gone nuclear, blasting Richard and Linda on Facebook, spilling dirt I didn't even know. Seems Linda slapped Emily in a screaming match downtown, and Richard took Linda's side. Emily's cut them off, and the town's buzzing, some siding with Richard, most just eating the popcorn. Mark's folks are still in his corner, of course. Tom's the type who'd defend his own over a cliff edge, right or wrong. Sarah's half-siblings, Richard's kids with Linda, haven't said much. They're teenagers, caught in the crossfire. She's still at Ellen's, waiting on a therapist slot, but she's got a kitten coming next week, something to keep her sane. Me, I'm just here, watching the fallout, knowing this ain't the end. Mark's promises were smoke, and Sarah's trust is ash. For any man who's seen a brother falter or a deal collapse, this hits home. Loyalty's only as good as the backbone behind it, and Mark's broke clean in half. You ever feel the air clear after a storm's ripped through, tearing down what's weak and leaving only what's built to last? That's where Sarah landed, a week after torching her engagement to Mark and watching the ashes settle. I'm still here, parked at Ellen's kitchen table, a 50-something grunt with a bad knee and a front-row seat to this mess, close enough to smell the smoke, far enough to keep my hands clean. It's March 15, 2025, and the fallout's still smoldering, but Sarah's standing taller, a kitten scrambling at her feet and a new kind of quiet in her eyes. For any man who's weathered a decade or two of life's gut punches, lost a job, a friend, a marriage, this one's for you. It's not about the fall, it's about what you do when the dust clears, and Sarah's scrapping her way to something better, one hard-won step at a time. She's still at Ellen's, bunked in her old room with posters of Nirvana peeling off the walls. The kitten, Luna, she named her, came home yesterday, a gray ball of chaos with claws like needles and a purr that rattles the windows. I tried snapping a picture for her, but the damn thing's a blur, darting under the couch or batting at my laces. Sarah's smitten, laughing like I haven't heard in months, and it's a sound that cuts through the static of this shitshow. Ellen's the rock here, 60, wiry from years of night shifts, frying bacon at dawn while Sarah vents. "He's gone, Mom," she said this morning, flipping a pancake for Luna to sniff. "I feel lighter." Ellen just nodded, slid me a plate, and kept the coffee coming. Me, I've been around since Sarah was a kid, half uncle, half confidant, and I'm seeing her shed the weight of a man who couldn't carry his own. Mark, Luke, she calls him now, since her posts got sniffed out, won't quit. He's taken over from Richard, hounding her like a dog after a bone. Calls at midnight, boots on the porch at dawn, flowers piling up by the mailbox till Ellen threatened to mulch them. "Luke, we're done," Sarah wrote online, blunt as a hammer. "Stop." I had to chase him off myself last night, limped out in my socks, told him I'd drag him to the curb if he didn't scram. He looked wrecked, eyes bloodshot, stammering about second chances, but Sarah's not budging. "I dodged a bullet," she told me, cracking a beer after he peeled out. "All those red flags, I was blind. I've seen it before, good guys who turn out hollow when the heat's on. Luke's hollow, and she's done pouring herself into the void. Her sister Emily's a wildfire, keeping the chaos alive. She's 28, loud as a freight train, and she's washed her hands of Richard and Linda, calls her stepmonster now, a nickname I'd toast if it weren't so damn sad. Emily's been lighting up Facebook, spilling tea about Linda's affairs. Old ones, messy ones, the kind that make you wince. Linda's fighting back, screaming in public, texting threats that'd make a sailor blush. She keyed Emily's car last week, red paint scratched to hell, and someone smashed Sarah's shop windows downtown, glass glittering on the sidewalk like spilled diamonds. Can't prove it's Linda, but who else? Sarah's got cameras up now, cheap ones that miss the angle, and I'm helping her rig better ones tomorrow. Wired myself back when I ran security for a warehouse gig. Richard's a twist I didn't see coming. Words trickling in, he's kicked Linda out. She's crashing with her folks, tail between her legs, and he's mulling divorce. Sent Sarah a text last night, "Sorry for everything." Too late, pal. She showed it to me, then deleted it without a word. "He had his shot," she said, tossing Luna a toy mouse. "I get it. 40 years of watching men fail teaches you. Apologies don't fix what's broke if the pieces are dust." Emily's cut him off too, and the town split, half gossiping over coffee at the diner, half picking sides. Luke's folks, Tom and his wife, still back Richard, but most folks are done with the drama, leaving Sarah room to breathe. The half-siblings, Richard's kids with Linda, are ghosts in this. Teenagers, 15 and 17, DNA tested years back when Linda's fidelity was a question mark. They're not talking to her, from what Ellen's cousin heard, but Sarah's not chasing them down. "They're his mess," she said, shrugging over a bowl of chili. She's got bigger fish, waiting on a therapist, leaning on Reddit for now, strangers online telling her she's tough as hell. It's working, she's sharper, clearer, like a blade honed on stone. Me, I'm just here, sipping bourbon while Luna gnaws my boot, watching Sarah carve out peace from the wreckage. Linda's the real wild card. She's unhinged, screamed at Sarah outside the hardware store yesterday, veins popping, promising payback. Sarah's pushing for a restraining order now, more worried about Linda than Richard. "He's a coward," she said, "but she's crazy. I've seen crazy, worked a bar in the 90s, broke up fights with drunks twice my size, and Linda's got that glint. Cameras might catch her next time. I'll make sure of it." Ellen's on board, too. Bought a bat for the porch, half joking, half not. Sarah's not running, though. "I just want my life back," she told me, Luna purring in her lap. "No more of their bullshit." Luke's still circling, a moth to a flame that's gone cold. His family's begging her to reconsider. Tom cornered me at the gas station, gruff as ever, saying she's tearing him apart. I told him straight. He tore himself apart. That shut him up. Sarah's shop's a mess. Windows boarded up, insurance dragging its feet. But she's got plans, talking about reopening with a new sign, something bold. Ellen's pushing her to paint the place, make it hers again. Luna's the spark, though, keeps her moving, keeps her laughing. I'm sticking around, not because she needs me, but because I've seen enough men fail her. Richard, Luke, Tom, and I'll be damned if I join the list. This storm's past, but the sky's not clear yet. Sarah's fighting for it, and that's a sight worth watching.